Hello there, people of the internet. Before we get started, new Patreon supporter, Zachary Finch. Boy, oh boy, I sure appreciate you stopping on in and supporting the work and what I do. And I figured that this would be a very, very good round to set off for you. For my $5 Patreons, I always dedicate a bullet to the individual. And I'll be honest, today just feels like an M1 Grand day. There's only one round, so hey, I bet you guys know exactly what's gonna happen whenever I fire this one round. Alright, no real specific target. I'm just gonna go ahead and send it down at our steel. Oh boy. Oh, I always love that Garand ping. Where's my clip? There she is. Genuine Garand ping. You know what? Let's get that without the sound of the 30-06. Blinding our eardrums. Oh, that's nice. Okay. Hey, you guys, remember that Garand clip I had a second ago? It seems to have vanished off the face of the earth. Okay, so I get a lot of questions a lot of times from new gun owners, specifically about like the new guns that they're going to be getting, what it is that they should take into consideration, etc., etc. And I figured I'd go ahead, I'm going to take these off because I don't need them right now. I figured I'd go ahead and make a video talking about the different things to consider. 9 times out of 10 people are talking about wanting to get something that they can conceal on person, you know, use as home defense, you know, one they can carry with them, you know, keep in their car, just a good universal do-everything gun. And everyone wants me to tell them some, you know, secret firearm that, you know, will cover all of the niches, that isn't, you know, boring, that is historically amazing, that, you know, has collector's value, some kind of, you know, firearm that they want me to give them some miracle firearm that can cover everything and be absolutely incredible, that they can show off to everybody, and etc., etc. There is no do-all firearm. That's just, you know, the reality of gun ownership. There is no firearm that will absolutely handle every single situation. If you're looking for a good concealable handgun, a vast majority of people don't want anything special. Get yourself some sort of Glock. I recommend the Glock 19, 9mm, easy to use, recoil's not that bad, very common, highly accessorizable. That would definitely be a very good one. That would cover a vast majority of people who ask me, you know, hey, what should I get? Get a Glock. If you don't care about what you get and you just want a workhorse that'll do its job, get a Glock. But that's not what these people want to hear me say. They want to hear me say something else, like, you know, go out and get yourself a Red 9 because those are freaking fantastic little handguns, and I know exactly where you can get one for like $400 and it runs just fine. I've seen it myself. They're perfect. Or they want me to go like, dude, go out and get yourself a Luger, or go out and get yourself a 1911. They're cutting edge technology. They want to hear something like that, something that isn't just, you know, a boring polymer black gun that is the same look, or looks the same as basically every other handgun out there on the market. That's just not the case. Now, if you have your own little niches, if something like a Glock does not fit for what it is that you are intending to, you know, if it doesn't fit the role that you're wanting it to fit, there's a couple of considerations that I figured I'd go ahead and bring up. I went ahead, I have this written down actually, so I can go ahead and just talk about what it is that I want to talk about without forgetting any topics. Whenever somebody talks to me about having or getting their hands on some sort of handgun that they can use for concealment, home defense, in their car, etc., etc., the number one factor, concealability. That is what I always tell them. Are you a big person? Are you a small person? Because people like email me, message me, etc., etc. I can't necessarily see them in real life. Do you wear loose clothing? Do you wear tight clothing? What is it that you do? You know, do you live in a winter area where you can wear heavy jackets, or are you here in Florida where a t-shirt is still too much clothing? What is your situation, and what is your capacity to be able to conceal whatever it is that you want? Your concealability is very, very important, especially if you are in a situation. A lot of people have some day jobs where they are not allowed to actually carry, so they need a very concealable handgun so nobody knows that they are actually carrying. a lot of times when you get smaller handguns, you start increasing recoil, you decrease capacity, you decrease the power behind the actual handgun as barrel length is decreased. There's a lot of factors that play into that, like the types of ammunition, the caliber, the actual ammunition that you're firing, etc., etc. But concealability is probably the most important thing to look for whenever you're looking at what handgun you're going to get to be able to conceal. Take into consideration the weight of the handgun as well. If you're getting an all steel handgun, then it's probably going to be a little bit or a lot of bit heavier than an all polymer frame handgun. Bear that in mind. You got to carry that around all day, every day, but we'll get into that here in a little while. Next up is power. People tell me all the time that they want a handgun that, you know, can rock the world. They'll go out and they'll conceal carry a 45 or, yeah, 45 or a 357 or something like that. Yeah, the handguns that are like that definitely have a lot of power behind them. But then these people will take these guns out to the range and, you know, the recoil is just so harsh, they'll be flinching all over the place. Their groups will basically not even be on target. They're going to miss every shot. Power is important, but you want to get something that you can shoot accurately and comfortably. It doesn't matter how powerful your handgun is if you're pulling every shot because you're flinching because of the recoil that you might face. The advice that we give to people is get the most powerful gun that you can comfortably shoot. If that's, you know, a 22 long rifle, I much rather pelt somebody with 22 long rifle than miss them with 45. Just saying. If it's a 25, get a 25. If it's a 32, get a 32. If it's a 380, get a 380. If it's a 9, get a 9. If you can handle 45 and you want a 45, get a 45. Whatever you can comfortably shoot and make hits on target, that is what matters. It does not matter how powerful your rounds are, it matters how many rounds actually hit target. And if you have a 44 Magnum and you miss every shot, then hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you lost that gunfight. Next one is familiarity. Familiarity. How familiar you are with this firearm. I have a couple of older people that a lot of times come for concealed carry classes and whatnot. I'm a firearms instructor outside of my day job. And we get a lot of older people, and these people are very familiar with the 1911. Lots of improvements have been made in technology since the 1911 has been made. But these people are just so in tune with knowing absolutely everything about the 1911. That's what they've trained with. That's what they're proficient with. I say if you have something that you're proficient with and you know very well, go ahead and use it. Don't try to, well, I mean, you can if you want to, but if you have something that is not as good as the next, you know, cutting edge technology, then by all means, go ahead and use what it is that you're familiar with. If you want something new and you want to learn a new platform, I am all about that, you know, 100% go for it. But if you want to stick with what you know and you're very effective with what you know, hey, hats off to you, go for it. Next one I wish I didn't have to put on this list, but legalities. Are you going to be traveling? Are you going to be going state by state? Are you allowed to even own a handgun? Are you going to be going out of the country? Are you going to be going to places where you can't, you know, carry a handgun, or where you can't carry certain types of handguns, or places where like your capacity is limited? Are you going, you know, like, what is the legal situation that you're going to be dealing with? 9 times out of 10, it's just people, you know, here in the state of Florida looking to train for the state of Florida, get their Florida concealed carry. So a lot of the legality issues and questions and whatnot, I have to ask them. I don't really have to worry about. But then there's other people. We actually did a class not too long ago where somebody was down from Pennsylvania, and they had a bunch of legal questions about Pennsylvania and, you know, the different, what they were not allowed to do, et cetera, et cetera. And of course we, you know, had to cover the differences between Florida and Pennsylvania. But that's one of the points that I'm getting at. Pay attention to the laws that you are and are not allowed to, well, what the laws say you are and are not allowed to do. Something to consider whenever you're out getting your handgun. Next is attachments. There's plenty of handguns out there that allow you to attach plenty of things. I always recommend, if somebody's going to get a do-everything handgun, get yourself a red dot for ease of use and get yourself a light. because you never know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and having a light to be able to visibly see whatever it is that you're having to take care of is going to make things so much easier. If you're not going to have a red dot, at least have night sights on your handgun. Red dot definitely makes concealability a lot more difficult, so it all depends on your situation whether or not you're going to want some sort of red dot on your handgun. I always recommend red dots. They're much easier to use than iron sights. As a matter of fact, whenever I teach people how to shoot, I use a red dot versus iron sights if they're like just starting off. This way you don't have to worry about sight alignment. I start teaching them the basic fundamentals, and then we start getting to using iron sights. Learning the basic fundamentals on a red dot, all you do is you look through that glass, and wherever that dot is, that's where the round is going to be going. So it's pretty easy to teach people on a red dot system. And if you are looking for your first handgun, there's a consideration to take into consideration. And last but not least, how comfortable it is. I already touched on this a little bit earlier. The comfort level of a handgun is actually way more important than people make it out to be. You are carrying that thing way more often than you are actually using it. You don't want it to be ridiculously heavy. I've had some pretty heavy handguns where they've pulled my britches down pretty good. For the longest time, this Star BM, this was my concealed carry. I used it in a belly band because I did not have the ability to use it in a waist holster. It's a very heavy handgun, all steel, limited capacity, 9mm, single stack. This was not the best handgun to conceal carry. I will go ahead and acknowledge that right now, but at the time, it was all that I had. There's a big hammer on the back. Guess what? This hammer jabs into my side every time I move around. This thing is sitting about right there, and every time I move around, guess what? I got this big hammer jabbing into my rib cage. It's not very comfortable. This thing is heavy. It's constantly pulling down on me. Get yourself something that's going to be comfortable to lug around. I know that sounds not very badass, and it's not really something that a lot of people want to take into consideration, but I'm telling you right now, that's definitely something that you want to take into consideration. Don't have something that's going to rub you raw. Make sure that your grip panels are not necessarily smooth, but not exactly like sandpaper either, because you really don't want those things sandpapering your skin. They're not... Oh God, this was such a bad experience lugging this thing around all day. The sights are like pointy and jagged, especially in the actual U-notch there on the rear sight. The front sight, no different. Most of the time that was covered. What I used to do is I would take a rag and I would put it between me and the handgun. For a while, I wore two shirts, one underneath and then the belly band and the one over. Well, unfortunately, here in the state of Florida, it is hot, and that is really not a good solution. So, eventually, I just got to the point to where I got a better setup. But this was not very comfortable. And if you're going to go with something like this, or something like a 1911, or some sort of full-size duty handgun, and it's not going to be very comfortable to lug around, then all I'm going to say is, hey, you have fun with that. That's just not the route that I would take. Okay, well... Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of stuff. I do this kind of stuff all the time. Like the video if you like the video. Description down below has a link to all sorts of different things. Go ahead and go check that out. I am running out of sunlight, but by golly, I want to keep making videos. So I'm going to go look at my long list of other videos to make, pick something on it. I need to bring these firearms inside because I've been out here making videos all day long. So I brought out some stuff. Grab this and grab this. M1 Garand. Yeah, I guess I can bring the M1 Garand in. That was just for the Patreon shout out. Thank you again, Zachary. Alright, you guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I have to walk in that direction, then back in this direction, and back in that direction, then back in this direction. And then I'll be able to do more videos. You guys go off, have a fantastic day. I don't know if I've said that already. I'm pretty sure I did like 3 times now, but I'll say it again because I mean it. Wholeheartedly. I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garand. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.